Hey, I pulled out my retirement plan proposal from a well-known financial institution, and there's a section about assumptions. The assumption was a 3% inflation rate for 30 years. The current 5-year period of 21% and 15% inflation will average out to 16% a year. That's over 5 times the assumption. Hey, thanks for joining. I'm Arnold, and I created Retirify because I was disgusted with what I hadn't been told about savings and retirement. Retirify is my 60-year-old self talking to my 30-year-old self, and maybe to you, teaching what we never learned about money in school. Disclaimer, this is my opinion. It's not financial advice. We've barely just met. Always seek professional advice and do your own research. You know the drill. I call this episode, Should You Change Retirement Strategies After COVID? As you know, from stimulus checks and COVID business loans, and a lot of our money was printed to make this all happen. Printing excess money creates debt for us and our children, but it also dilutes and decreases the value of our currency, and it artificially pumps up the stock market. And we've seen all of that since 2020. But politicians and legislators don't like bad publicity on their watch, so these figures are not even mildly accurate. Hint, they don't include healthcare costs or taxes in their estimates. So just doing simple math, we know that the $7 trillion in printed money during 2020 resulted in inflation in the neighborhood of 21% for just 1 year. We can rely on assuming a 15% inflation rate in 2021 and for at least the next few years. So I pulled out my retirement plan proposal from a well-known financial institution, and there's this section there on assumptions. The assumption was that a 3% inflation rate would hold for 30 years. But the current 5-year period of 21% and 15% inflation is going to average out to 16% a year. That's over 5 times the assumption or estimate. So basically, I can burn my retirement proposal after COVID. And you may be able to too, because it's useless, because the assumptions are useless. As I stated, this information isn't financial advice, and I urge you to do your own thinking and to seek the services of a financial professional. These are my opinions for your evaluation. However, in my own personal situation and story, a lot of the mainstream professional advice that I got, especially about deferring tax till later in life, feels like a giant kick in the ass from my younger self to my 60-year-old self, especially with a tax-hungry post-COVID government that printed up and spent a buttload of money it didn't have, but that it's anxious to recover. Just saying. So here's what I found for me at age 60. Assumptions are wrong now after COVID. All bets are off. Only the stock market and the new asset class of Bitcoin can even remotely earn enough to overcome 16% inflation. The stock market is risky as it's in the greatest bubble in its history, and Bitcoin has been up about 150% each year or more for its 10-year history, and it shows no signs of retreating. It's just jumpy and volatile, like a teenager. That doesn't mean it's not going to be good later in life. We just have to bear with it. As I see it, I have to creep out on a ledge with stocks, hoping that I don't fall down the cliff this week or next month, or I can invest in a pretty predictable rise in value with Bitcoin, putting up with some volatility. And I personally am picking the latter, not for all my investments, but for some, maybe in the 5 to 10% range. And I'm on a mission to teach my clients and my friends how to move into the cryptocurrency universe slowly and steadily and safely to avoid the clamor and the noise of the COVID economic wrecking ball. We'll cover more of this in future episodes. Just wanted to give you a little taste. So here's an action step for you. Go back and dig up the retirement plan that you may be using, either online or from a financial professional. Armed with the knowledge that we're now playing in a world post-COVID where US dollars have around a 16% inflation rate, give or take. Have a look at your inflation assumptions. Also, have a look at your estimated rate of return, probably also rubbish. My quick summary in this episode, there's only two asset classes that can keep up with this excessive rate of inflation. One is risky, and one is solid but unfamiliar to many. The risky one is the stock market, where overvalued stocks last year returned record-breaking rates. That's real money, but it's based upon risk. Inflated values propped up by the very cause of the inflation problem, government money printing. The second asset class, Bitcoin, has been returning average returns of 150% or more per year, each year, for the past 10 years. It's predictable over the long term, but as you've read in the newspaper, daily and weekly values can vary wildly, although still reliably an amazing store of wealth. At Retirify, we specialize in helping people save for retirement to become familiar with Bitcoin, which is global internet money. Post-COVID, it's an important and necessary hedge against out-of-control money printing, resultant inflation, and corresponding rising prices. No one wants to learn something new, but like your first email or your first Google search, it can open up an important world to you. Post-COVID, it is critically important to learn and experience Bitcoin savings immediately to preserve and grow your wealth that's eroding and melting before your eyes from inflation. If you enjoyed this mini session on wrong assumptions, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, the bell so that you're notified of our new episodes, and share this with someone who needs to hear this information that wasn't taught to any of us in school. Let's work smart together. We'll be doing some courses helping you to understand Bitcoin better. And let's all take charge of our savings and retirement and build, and most important, preserve wealth. Thanks for listening. This is Arnold. Together, let's get wealthy and retirify.